Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are here breaking down the AFC Championship, the NFC Championship, every championship, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I'm doing good because it's game time, Tanner. I had not seen my team win a playoff game since 2005. And I don't even remember that. I was 7 years old. I saw my team win its first playoff game essentially 2 weeks ago. I saw us win last week. And I believe that we can get to the Super Bowl. And I'm pumped up to watch it. I know I'm not wearing the jersey. You were giving me crap for it. I wore it last Friday. I wanted to switch it up. Chelsea's got a big game against Man City this weekend. But I am locked in on Sunday afternoon, and I'm ready to go.
Grant, if you were a real American, you'd be wearing a football jersey today.
I am wearing a football jersey.
Grant, we beat Chelsea in the Revolutionary War, okay? We own them. We own England. We are the champ. And the British still don't like that we beat them in the Revolutionary War, Grant.
You're starting a geopolitical conflict now in the first 2 minutes of the show. That's what you're doing?
I am. I actually, my grandmother's from Scotland, so I guess I'm pretty hardcore.
Huh.
Hardcore United Kingdom British, however you say it. But anyways, Grant, football, the real football is happening this weekend. We couldn't be more excited about it. Sunday, AFC Championship, NFC Championship, all the championships, and we're going to break it down here on the show. But before we do that, Grant, tell them why they need to subscribe to not only Ride the Line, but check out WSN.com.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's very obvious why you should subscribe here. We've been getting a lot of views recently, a lot of new subscribers. We appreciate you all. Welcome to the channel. Tanner and I are here multiple times every week where we're talking about the biggest games, breaking down news. In the offseason, we do some fun stuff. So hit the subscribe button if you want to be a part of that. And then also, if you're into sports betting in any shape or facet, doesn't matter what league, doesn't matter if you like betting on the color of the Gatorade at the Super Bowl, go to WSN.com, the World Sports Network. Myself, Tanner, a team of experts. We are giving betting picks, breaking down important matchups. We got promo codes for sports books, all of the above. It's at WSN.com.
Can't be more excited about all the promo codes for the games this weekend, guys. There's a ton of them, so make sure you check it out. Also, smash that subscribe button for Ride the Line. I'll say it again because it is the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. Grant, how excited are you? Commies. I mean, personally, I'll say this. Yeah, I'm a Bucs fan. I'm a Patriots fan. I like the Tom Brady experience. Nothing will ever make me excited about my teams, though. Like, gambling has destroyed that for me. Like, I'm only excited about what I bet on. So if the Patriots go to the Super Bowl, I don't care unless I'm betting. And I would be betting on them, which probably heightens the experience of being in Boston, all that stuff. But gambling has kind of ruined it for me. So you still have the faith and love in the Commanders. So how does that feel to be a fan?
Well, I'll to pick up where you left off there with the gambling aspect of it. I pretty much never bet on my teams because, you know, we're supposed to have a level of journalistic integrity. And, you know, like being here on the podcast and talking about my team is a little different. But like if I'm writing, if I'm, you know, making video content, whatever, like I have to be unbiased. You know, that's my job. That's our job, to be objective as possible. The thing that I've found is that sometimes when I'm talking about my team, I try so hard to be unbiased that I'm almost a little too critical of them at times. So I basically just never bet on my team because either I fall into the trap of being too negative or I believe in them too much when I shouldn't. And I usually end up on the wrong side. So I've learned just to stay off of them. The fact that I do still have a team left in the Final Four is crazy. It's something that I've never experienced before. I mean, I was joking around during the intro, but seriously, we hadn't won a playoff game in 20 years, and I don't remember it. So 2 weeks ago was like the first time that I essentially watched my team win a playoff game. And to consider the fact that we have won 7 games in a row, our quarterback is playing better than anybody left in the playoffs. And all we need to do is go play 60 minutes of football, and that could get us to the Super Bowl. It's crazy. I mean, we were 25th in Super Bowl odds coming into the year, and we have a chance to be in the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks.
It is crazy how this game, like the conference championship, is the deciding factor on if you get to the Super Bowl or if you don't get to the Super Bowl. It's like the Commanders realistically have a great chance of going to the Super Bowl. They're 1 win away, got a divisional opponent. It's wild to think that we'd be in this situation. So Jayden Daniels, innovator, game changer.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to jump into this matchup. We might as well start with this one because it is the earlier of the two games. If I were writing a headline for this, it would be, we're about to find out, is the NFL a quarterback driven league or not? Because who has the advantage at quarterback? Commanders. Who has the advantage at literally every other position? The Eagles.
But
Huh?
but I got to cut you off here, Grant. We're acting like Jalen Hurts is a freaking bag of lard. He's not. Jalen Hurts is still a good quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Jalen Hurts is still good. I think while Jayden Daniels is playing unbelievable and he's an elite quarterback, he's in the top tier. Jalen Hurts is still good enough to go out and win game. I mean, he's been to the Super Bowl before, and he played his greatest game in the Super Bowl. Still lost it, but Jalen Hurts, good quarterback.
He is a good quarterback. I'm not trying to take that away from him. What I'm more so saying is he's not playing well. He's also not really been given a lot of opportunities to play well because they are content, and they should be. They should be, but they are content with giving the ball to Saquon 25, 30 times in a game. And Jalen's very injured. He's going to play this game, but he didn't look great last game. And then after he suffered that injury, it got a lot worse. He literally took a safety because he couldn't move. He had somebody right in front of him. I think it was a receiver, tight end, whoever. He could have checked it down. He decided not to, and then he couldn't escape because he couldn't move. So considering that he hasn't played well, considering that he's banged up, not saying Jalen is a bad quarterback, but in this particular game, I think he could be a bad quarterback. It's not unrealistic. He's averaging less than 130 passing yards in the playoffs so far. So if you're telling me he can't run and he can't really plant on his throws, then I'm not expecting him to play all that well. If he plays better than average, it is a significant boost for the Eagles.
So I have a stat here. This is a crazy stat. Jalen Hurts. Eagles in his playoff career, undefeated, 4-0 in the playoffs when he throws for under 155 yards. When he throws for 155 plus, they are 0-3. They don't want to throw the ball. They don't need to throw the ball. They have Saquon Barkley, obviously, for a reason. They've always had a good run game. And he's been a big part of the run game, too, in the past, where it's probably a little less now because he can barely move in the pocket. But Saquon Barkley is the guy that they need to lean on throughout this game. And I don't think you need Jalen to necessarily step up and be big in this game because Saquon Barkley is your meal ticket to the Super Bowl.
So I agree. But one thing I would push back on is even if Jalen Hurts wasn't running the ball and they were finding success, it was the threat that he could. I want to take us back to week 16, because not only have Washington and Philly played each other twice, they played each other twice recently. They played in week 11 and week 16. It's not like when these teams play, the Eagles played the Packers, the Commanders played the Bucs in week 1. No, this stuff happened pretty recently. If we go back to that game, Philly had the great start. They go off to a 21-7 lead. Jalen Hurts comes out of the game. Kenny Pickett goes in. Okay, cool. With Kenny Pickett in the game, Saquon Barkley in the final 3 quarters ran 20-something times for 41 yards. It was the worst he's looked all season. Now, that might be what you expect because Washington didn't honor Kenny Pickett as a runner. They didn't really honor his ability to throw the ball. They were able to crowd the box, but they didn't let him get any explosive runs. Teams recently have been stacking the box. It's not some novel concept. The Rams had a bunch of guys in the box. The Packers had a bunch of guys in the box, but Saquon has still been able to break off these explosive runs. They almost use their running game like other teams do their passing game. That's where they get their explosives from. Commanders didn't let that happen. So what I'm thinking about in this game is Jalen's not going to be running. He's just not going to be. So is Washington able to attack the line of scrimmage with that same level of intensity? Also got to keep in mind, Cam Jurgens is not practiced this week. Landon Dickerson was getting reps at center in practice. So if they're down a starting lineman and their quarterback can't run, is the Commanders' run defense going to be able to show up like it did in week 16? The thing you have to worry about there is Jalen Hurts, even injured, still a much better passer than Kenny Pickett is. But that's what I think is ultimately going to be the deciding factor in this matchup.
But also, too, if Jalen Hurts, and we don't know the injury status, he was a full participant, right? So
he was a full participant in a walkthrough.
But again, we don't know what he's going to look like till he gets on the field. Last weekend, before he gets hurt, 7 for 70, right? He's still running the ball. Washington, week 16 or week 17, whatever it was, or whatever he played, December 22nd, it was last game, 3 for 41 before he gets hurt. Like, he's had success running the ball still. As bad of a runner as we think he looks like when he's running right now, he's still run the ball well. So the knee injury is a big factor. We need to see how that looks. But even last weekend against the Rams, he was taking care of himself. He was sliding before he's never really slid like he was sliding last weekend. That was the first time I've really seen it where he was getting down way early.
I think that's an indication he's scared / in pain.
Yeah. He doesn't want to get concussed again, number one. I think
That too, yeah.
the early slides I felt like were the concussed, and then he got the knee injury later in the game. But I think he was sliding early to prevent the concussions more so last weekend, and it was working. And he ripped off a big gain. So if his knee is healthy, I think he's going to be able to run the football.
I don't think his knee's healthy, plain and simple. I mean, that injury, I understand I'm not one of these Twitter doctors. I'm not going to be able to diagnose it, but he was in a lot of pain. He could not move. If you watched his interview after the game, he was on drugs. I mean, you can't tell me that he wasn't. He was on a whole nother planet. And again, Philly, if you go by traditional schedule, they would have been practicing full speed by now. They were doing extra walkthroughs. I think that's because they got a lot of injuries. Sal Palantonio, I saw, was on site for the Eagles warmups. He said Jaylen looked like a guy who couldn't move and was kind of going through every trick he possibly could to get himself to loosen up. He's going to play. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure they're going to shoot him up with some painkillers before, and he'll be ready to go. But if you listen to Joe Witt Jr., the Commanders' defensive coordinator, he said, like, early in his media availability, might have been the second question, he said, look, they have to make the decision if they want to run him or not, because if they do, we are coming after him and we're going to hit him like a running back. And I made that very clear. We're going to hit him just like we would a running back. We're going to try to inflict punishment, and they're going to have to live with the consequences if they decide to run him. This isn't a new concept. This is what defensive players are told to do. You treat the quarterback if he runs like he is any other player, but they're coming after him, and he's already injured.
I think this is a game maybe early on where you forget about the threat of the legs with Jalen Hurts, and he can hurt you late. Like when you're least thinking about it, when you're least accounting for it. But I don't think early on they're going to try to run him. I think they're going to try to lean on Saquon, lean on the passing game. Like they still have AJ Brown. You still have Devontae Smith. You still have Dallas Goedert. We forget that they have these guys. Like AJ Brown's total this weekend, I think, is right around 60 yards. That's wild for a playoff game. I would think AJ Brown, and again, this is the offense he's in, but AJ Brown is more than capable of doing 100 against any team he plays against, and they haven't really exploited that this season. Like AJ Brown's primary route is a quick slant on third down. That's what we've been getting from him. So I think we're going to see some innovation from the Eagles, but it's going to start with Saquon. If they can't run with Saquon, they're not going to win the football game. So that's going to be their goal. They're going to try to do it multiple times, and they have to play great defense too. So it's going to be a team effort for the Eagles, but I think overall, and you attested to this, the Philadelphia Eagles are the better football team. I think they're better than the Lions. The Lions were America's sweetheart. They scored a lot of points. That's why they were such a heavy favorite. But as far as just overall team football, the Eagles are the best team in the NFL. Do they have the best coach? Hell no. But they have the best overall talent, 1 to 53 on that roster.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I said, I would give Washington the advantage at quarterback. I guess at punter. Everywhere else, I'm giving it to the Eagles. I think the only conversation there is linebacker, and that's probably because Nakobe Dean got hurt. If he's healthy, you're still giving it to the Eagles. I mean, Zach Bond's up for Defensive Player of the Year.
How's your guys' kicker? Jake Elliott's trash, so I mean, you got an advantage there.
I would still give Jake Elliott the advantage just because he's done a lot in his career. Zane Gonzalez was out of the league for a couple of years. He comes back. He missed some kicks he shouldn't, but he's good. Like if you keep it within like 52, beyond that, it's like you might as well just have punted it.
Jake Elliott, well, he's 3 for 3 on field goals at least last weekend, and in the playoffs, he's 6 for 6, but he's 2 for 5 on PATs. And as soon as you miss a PAT, like from the betting perspective, I say, well, if I have -1.5, -2.5, like all these numbers get thrown out of whack when we start missing PATs. Yeah. But literally, they almost lost the game last week because of missed PATs. So kicking's going to play a factor. I still think the Eagles at home, this is a tough spot for Jayden Daniels. I think he's going to obviously thrive in it, but it's still going to be really tough. And the defense needs to get turnovers. If the Eagles don't turn the ball over, I don't think there's a route to victory for you guys, because your wins, Jayden Daniels has played great, but they've also been reliant on a lot of turnovers. So the Eagles got to protect the football.
That's not true. The Commanders had some of the fewest takeaways in the league.
In the playoffs, your wins
Oh,
have been
okay. Just the
reliant on. If
playoffs
you
you're
guys
talking.
don't turn, if the Lions don't turn the ball over 5 times last week, you probably don't win that game.
No, I fully disagree. It's not a
I don't.
guarantee. It's not a guarantee, but
It's not a guarantee.
they could not stop our offense.
No,
So to
but you
say we
guys didn't
only won
stop
because
them.
of turnovers, that's
You guys
not fair.
didn't stop them because besides turnovers, like you forced turnovers.
Okay,
Like
but
they
you're
were
saying
scoring.
if we don't force turnovers, we lose the game. That's not fair. You
I'm
can
saying
say we
a
have
lot
a
closer.
chance to lose.
You have a much greater, if you just mathematically, Grant, you have a much greater chance to lose if you don't get 5 turnovers.
Yes, we have a greater chance, not we would have lost.
I don't know, Grant. I think it would have been a high scoring game, but I'm giving the edge to, if you tell me you're taking away 5 turnovers for the Lions and it was a 3-point game in the third quarter, still with the 5 turnovers, I'm probably picking the Lions. I mean, you guys finished strong. You had 14 points in the fourth
Okay,
quarter.
well,
But
how about this? Washington turned the ball over 5 times the last time they played the Eagles. The Eagles scored 33 points and the Eagles lost.
how many times did the Eagles turn the ball over in that game? 2, 3,
Think
2, at least 2.
I think it was 2.
I
Because
mean,
nobody threw in no, Kenny Pickett threw the interception. It might have only been 1. It's either 1 or 2. No way it's more than 2.
but just mathematically, Grant, 5 turnovers, you give the other team a lot of chances to win. Like Lions were in the, you guys made plays like Lions 3 for 6 in the red zone. You were 4 for 4. But I mean, overall, I mean, if you don't turn the ball over 5 times and it was a 3-point game in the third quarter, like I think the Lions could have won that game. They couldn't stop your offense. I agree. But you guys weren't stopping them besides the turnovers. You forced the turnovers.
Yeah, we're on the same page. You just said we're not winning if we don't force the turnovers.
I don't
and
think you
that's
are.
wrong.
I don't think you are, honestly, at home, because it's a game of momentum too, Grant. You need to factor that in.
I didn't know you were a Justin Herbert fan. I didn't know
What do
you
you
were a
mean,
big
Justin?
what if guy.
I am a what if guy. In a game of momentum where a pick six and Jared Goff getting his head taken off quiets the crowd. Yeah, momentum plays into these turnovers. This is not just like it does. It does. Like, and I'm not. And again, you were a 9.5-point dog. It's not a wild take for me to say if you don't turn the ball over 5 times, you weren't going to win the game.
So getting back to this matchup, like I said, turned it over 5 times last time they played. They still won. Everybody's going to say Jalen Hurts didn't play that game. Cool. You scored 33 points. You don't usually lose games where you score 33. You get 5 takeaways.
But you had 21 in the first quarter with
They
Jalen Hurts on the field.
They did. But going back to when they played in Philly, so the first matchup, that was the Jayden Daniels first time playing in weather like temperatures that cold. First time being on Thursday Night Football. First time going to Philadelphia. Cracked ribs. Couldn't run the ball. Washington was up 10-6 at the start of the fourth quarter. I think for whatever reason we remember that game as a blowout. That's not what it was. That was also I want to say Washington hadn't been stopped on fourth down the entire year until that game. So again, Washington has played 2 bad games against Philly. They had a fourth quarter lead in the first one and they won the second one. So I don't understand. I think Philly's the better team top to bottom. Not arguing about that at all. I think this line's way too big. 6.5 points is disrespectful to me. It was 3 points when they played in week 11. I don't know where Philly has gotten the extra 3.5 points in that time. I think this is a 3-point line again in my head.
Well, it's growing. It's moving in favor of the Eagles here. I think when you look at how the playoffs have occurred, all right, so it makes sense to me for these reasons. I think Washington's probably better than 6 points, worse than the Eagles, if that makes sense. But you look at the path. No one's had a tougher path at this point than the Commanders in like playoff history or whatever. You have a rookie quarterback, never been to the Super Bowl. No rookie quarterbacks. Jalen's hurt. You're also on the road. Very cold weather game. Again, it's cold in Washington, too. It's the same damn temperature. But you have Saquon Barkley becoming an animal, more of an animal week after week. I think that plays into it a little bit. I just think it's experience too. It's big game experience. The Eagles have it. You guys don't have as much of it. So that's where it's at. I can see the line set at 6.5 because if they start running the ball, there's a good chance they can cover that. They covered it once this year. And then the other game, they had a 21-7 lead before Jalen Hurts got hurt. So I can see why it's that.
Players of the game for me, Jayden Daniels, don't need to talk about why. Saquon, don't need to talk about why. Jalen Carter, got to find a way to get on him. And then Devontae Smith. And this one might be weird for you. I think Washington's got a lot of guys down by the box. Marshawn Lattimore, I understand, didn't play good against the Bucs, didn't play good against the Eagles the first time around. He was injured, barely in the system, not practicing. He finally looks healthy. He's been in the system for a couple of months. Last week, he was targeted one time the whole game. It was on the third play of the game. So if we're to assume he can at least do a job on A.J. Brown, that leaves people in the box. A.J. Brown covered. Need a big Devontae Smith game if you're an Eagles fan.
Yeah, no, 100%. And Devontae Smith has not been big every week this season. Neither is A.J. Brown. They're going to have to throw the ball to win a little bit. They're going to have to run the ball, but they can really punish Washington if Washington decides to just load up the box by throwing the football with the one-on-one coverage with Devontae and A.J. Brown. We'll see if it happens, though. So who are you taking, Grant? I mean, I'm assuming you're going to take the Commanders to win.
I took the Commanders to lose both games against Philly, took them to lose to the Bucs, took them to lose to the Lions. For juju purposes, I'm taking the Eagles. I just think there's some sort of team of destiny aspect here. Washington is peaking at the right time. Again, they did a better job than anybody against Saquon in the final three quarters, and I understand he still finished with 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. You can't take that away, but Jalen's hurt. I don't trust it. I would look at the upset. My favorite pick, Washington plus 6.5.
So going off team of destiny, like this is where the Commanders fans get a little delusional, Grant. Getting a little delusional. Team of destiny does not happen in the playoffs much, right? Like
it can happen here and then lose in the Super Bowl.
Oh, it can, but like team of destiny even getting to the Super, if this whole romantic element of sports was accurate, the Chiefs wouldn't have been in the Super Bowl for the past 15 years, or the Patriots. So like going off the recent Super Bowl matchups, like team of destiny, let's just find the last team of destiny. All right. Chiefs, Niners, no destiny. Chiefs, Eagles, no destiny. Rams, Bengals, maybe the Bengals, but like
I think both of them maybe. Because the Rams, it was like they made the quarterback trade. Stafford never did anything his whole career, and then bam, first year with the Rams wins a Super Bowl.
But they made that trade with the intention of winning the Super Bowl too. You know what I'm saying? Like that was there.
Yeah,
Bengals maybe, but that's Joe Burrow. That's kryptonite. That's Patty's kryptonite. Tampa versus Kansas City, like Brady versus Mahomes.
But that's also a bit of destiny for Brady. Like he finally leaves New England. People didn't think he was going to do it. They started like 5-5.
Grant, I'm looking to try to find like a not equal, because you can't find the rookie quarterback, but I'm trying to find somebody who like nobody expected to be there. Bengals probably was that team at the time.
Realistically, it's the Nick Foles Eagles.
Yeah, that's probably the last time you got the 2018 was the last time that you could make a similar case that it's a team of destiny. And the thing about that was like, you still had the horses. That team was still a Super Bowl team besides Nick Foles. And then Nick Foles just managed the games well. He played great. He has a stat.
He didn't manage them. He played.
He threw for like 300 yards in each game. Like he was that guy.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find an equivalent, but this is the romantic element. Like people, we're going to see Bills Commanders. We're probably not going to see Bills Commanders because we can't have two freaking sweethearts going up against each other. We need the bad boy Chiefs. We need the bad boy Eagles. You can maybe make the case, I think Commanders beating the Eagles better than you can make the case Bills beating the Chiefs. I think it's easier for the Bills to beat the Chiefs, but I think it's harder to make the case for it, if that makes sense. Probably makes no sense, but
no, it actually makes perfect sense. Okay. You want to transition over?
Yeah, let's transition over to Chiefs Bills.
Wait, so who are you taking? Commanders Eagles.
I'm taking Eagles minus 6.5.
Okay.
The hearts get broken in the playoffs.
Okay.
So that's what I'm taking.
Okay, Bills Chiefs. So you said it's harder to make the case, even though you can see it happening more realistically.
Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs does not lose. Okay. So the whole argument that can be made, well, Josh has to beat him eventually. Yes, Josh does probably have to beat him eventually. This is the same Bills franchise that lost 4 Super Bowls in a row. I'm sure in the 4th Super Bowl, people were saying we have to win eventually.
Yeah.
So you, don't get me wrong. Like Bills fans probably saying that, Bills bettors, but there is a sense of uncertainty, unknown fear in your stomach facing Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes came out yesterday and said, I love being the villain. Okay. He loves it. He lives for it. So when he's saying that, I'd be shitting my damn pants if I was betting the Bills in this game.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
We've said it before. I think this is the Bills' best chance to beat them. And honestly, I like the Bills a small bit better than I like the Chiefs. But that doesn't make me forget what Mahomes does as an underdog in the playoffs, in the clutch moments. This is a guy who just figures out how to win, and we get bored of it. And what we do with great teams is we don't talk about what they achieve. We try to poke holes and say they did this, but it wasn't perfect because of this. Like the biggest example would be LeBron. You know, LeBron will score 35 points, have 12 rebounds. It's like, well, he missed a 3 with 2 minutes and 42 seconds left, and the other team made a 3, and that's what ended up winning them the game. We do that with the Chiefs. Like they're only here because the Raiders missed the field goal at the end of the game. And this happened, and there was this injury and this roughing the passer call, and the Texans had more yards and more times. It doesn't matter. They figure out what they need to do in the biggest moments. The reason I have more faith in the Bills than ever before, not because of the team they have, because of the level of maturity they showed in that Ravens game. I talked about it. For them to be willing to let Josh Allen only have 120 yards and not take any big chances, know that's how they're going to win the game, that says something to me, because that's not who the Bills were. The Bills were a circus attraction, not that in the sense that they were silly like the circus, but like they were a show. They wanted to sell tickets. They wanted people to come watch them. We're so exciting. We do this, but they could never win the big games. To win games, sometimes you don't have to be exciting. You have to be kind of boring. You got to knuckle under, and you got to just execute in the big moments. That's what Tom Brady made a living off of. You've seen Mahomes make that transition over the last few years, and I think that's what happens here. So I would take the Chiefs.
I think you can't play the same way that you did against the Ravens. You need Josh Allen to go out and have the game of his life here and like take it away from the Chiefs, because you saw last week with the Ravens. The Ravens were so talented. They were in a position to at least tie the game, win the game if Mark Andrews doesn't fumble on the 40 going in, because there's no doubt in my mind they were scoring there. I don't believe you can play that way against the Chiefs, because you can't be reliant on turnovers against them. They're not turning the ball over right now. You have to go out and you have to punch them in the mouth and probably make them play a different game, which is being explosive and trying to throw the football. And Mahomes can still do it if he wants to do it, but you can't play a clock control possession game where it's a 3 to 7 point game in the fourth quarter. This needs to be, if it's a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, like I am taking the Chiefs all the way. So this is a game where Patrick Mahomes, they have the experience, championship DNA. The Bills, while I think they can win the game, you can't take me off Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I tell the story with the Ravens last year. You know, Mahomes, I had a ticket on Baltimore to win the Super Bowl. Line opens at like 2.5 or 3.5. It's like 4.5 by kickoff. Chiefs are a 4.5 point dog on the road in Baltimore last year. They had just beaten the Bills, which probably a more explosive Bills team last year, not as complete, but definitely a more explosive Bills team in Buffalo. Now you're going on the road to Baltimore. They still win it. So I think before the dynasty implodes, I think you need to get the three-peat. And I think if you're writing the script here, it's going to be Chiefs, Eagles, Chiefs, Commanders, however you want to say it. But then once they get the three-peat, then they lose next year in the postseason. Kelsey's done. Kelsey might retire at the end of the season, and you're going to start to see the cracks form a little bit. But this year, they're as complete of a team as you got this year. They're a one-loss team with their starters on the field. And that was to Buffalo, and Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose, it seems, twice in the same season. It's only happened twice in his career.
Yeah, the Bills tried to play this low possession, high time of possession game last year, and it was something new for what we've seen from them in the playoffs up to that point. Obviously, that's more of the style they did this year, but they still lost 27-24. I mean, The Chiefs turned the ball over. The Bills did not. The Bills had the ball for 37 minutes and they were at home and they lost 27-24. It's just what the Chiefs do. They always figure out ways. And did you know, I know you were talking about fun facts earlier. Did you know that if Mahomes and the Chiefs beat Josh Allen and the Bills here, that will be the first time that amongst top quarterbacks, one player has gone 4-0 against the other in the playoffs?
Yes, I saw that stat the other day. That's pretty wild. But again, how many times we never get this domination? Maybe you can say Brady to Manning, but I'm sure Manning beat Brady in the playoffs. I feel like
he got him a couple times.
Yeah, that wasn't like we're not right in that same narrative here. Yeah, Chiefs, that's pretty wild, Grant. Bringing that up. Lost the turnover battle last year. They were 2 for 4 in the red zone. The Bills were 3 for 4. They only had the ball for 22 minutes. The Bills had it for 37 minutes. The Bills outgained them. Third down, Chiefs 1 for 5.
It was in Buffalo.
Chiefs 1 for 5, and the Bills were 7 of 14, and they still, I don't even know. Like, I remember this game. It was the Tyler Bass field goal, that was a terrible kick. But I don't know how when you look at the box score for this one, I don't know how they lost this game.
And this is what they do, though. I mean, go look at the Texans game. They had fewer yards, fewer rushing yards. Neither team got a turnover. The Chiefs were worse on third down. They had fewer yards per play, less time of possession, and they win.
Yeah.
Then not only that, they win by 9 points. They win and cover.
Do you think Josh Allen has it in the back of his head that he can't beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs? Like, do you think he's thinking that?
So I don't know if you ever had a player or a team that you went against, whereas I can't beat them. I had some guys like that who I used to run against, who I used to race against. And it was I never felt inferior. Like I never went in defeated. Like I'm not going to do it. But it was like, I know I'm starting behind the 8 ball. So I'm going to have to find something, whether it's, like I got to make this move here. I got to start hard. I got to be prepared for a sprint finish. Like, I never went in expecting to lose, but I went in feeling like I started behind them and I had to create something to catch me back up.
Yeah. I don't think he's expecting to lose. So I think it's going in like with the mentality you're talking about, but there's got to be something there where it's like Mahomes goes out there. They know they're going to win the game. Like that's all they know. Where the Bills, and they asked Josh after the game last week, they said, do you think you're going to get over the hump? And he's like, we're going to do our best to play our best football, some political answer. I don't know if they think they can win the game.
I honestly don't think it's a Josh Allen thing. I think it's a team thing because I think Josh Allen, I'm sure he recognizes the situation. I'm sure he knows that he's never beaten him. But again, I don't think he's going in there feeling defeated. I think it's a matter of how do his teammates feel about it? Like to go to Jayden Daniels just as an example, like Washington's been this horrible team for however long, right? I was listening to an interview with a couple of players and they were saying, we see what his mentality is just from how he acts and we see how routinely he shows up. And we believe we will always win because of him. I would be interested to know, do the Bills players feel that about Josh Allen, specifically in the context of when they're facing the Chiefs in the playoffs? Because I think that has the biggest impact of anything.
Yeah, it's not the regular season. The Bills can beat them in the regular season, but I think that's also a benefit to the Chiefs because it's tough to beat a team twice. Like if Patrick Mahomes was 8-0 versus Josh Allen all time, or 9-0, whatever the matchups are, that would be I'd be a little more cautious in the sense of, okay, well, this could be the one. But Josh Allen gets the best of him in the regular season every year.
He's 3-1 against him.
Yeah, and then Mahomes is 3-0 in the postseason. So like they're playing even games. They're playing tight games. The Chiefs team is just finding ways to win in the postseason, and the Bills are not. Like if Tyler Bass goes out and makes that field goal, sends it to overtime last year, and again Mahomes I think had a minute at that point. If Bass makes the kick, Mahomes still has a minute to go try to win the game. But if that game goes to overtime, Josh gets the ball back, he can go score a touchdown. There's no doubt about it. But everybody needs to be perfect. This isn't Mahomes versus Allen. Allen's been good in these games.
And also, just as far as The playoffs magnify the most important spots on the field, which are your quarterback, obviously, your key player. It could be an edge rusher, it could be a receiver, just your next star, and then your head coach. Josh Allen is phenomenal. Is he going to play Patrick Mahomes or outplay Patrick Mahomes in this game? I would vote no, just out of the respect I have for Mahomes. Nothing to do with Allen. Andy Reid's a better coach than Sean McDermott, and Travis Kelce is a better postseason performer than anybody the Bills have. So is Chris Jones, by the way. So where's Buffalo going to get the advantage from? If it was an Eagles Commander situation where the Bills were better at pretty much every spot on the field, maybe I would look at it a little differently, but that's not where we're at.
No, I look at it as a very even matchup across the board. Both teams are talented. Both teams have players. The Chiefs probably have better skill players than the Bills. Like you can almost make that argument. I think James Cook is great. I think Pacheco is great. I think, DeAndre Hopkins hasn't gotten involved at all. If he gets involved a little more, that's an advantage for the Chiefs. You still have Xavier Worthy. You still have these guys that can go out and make plays for you. Mac Hollins is great and Shakir, but this isn't like an A+ star-studded cast of receivers for Buffalo right now. So I think talent-wise, the Chiefs are just as good. They have the advantage of quarterback. They have the advantage of coach, and they just know how to win the playoffs. Personally, I don't know how you can bet Buffalo in this game. Buffalo may win the game, but I don't know how when the Chiefs are in the playoffs, you don't bet on Patrick Mahomes because you will more times than not win, and you will more times than not make a lot of money doing it. If you just bet the Chiefs to win the AFC Championship for the past 7 years or 7 years now, you are making money, a lot of money.
I'm looking up the betting splits for this game right now.
Sharps or Chiefs. If you look up the Circa splits, the Circa.
So I'm on VSiN right now. We have 50%, or sorry, we have 64% of money line bets, 57% of money on the Bills. So that would indicate less, but still sharp money on the Chiefs there.
So if you go, are you on Circa or are you on DraftKings?
DraftKings.
So go to Circa. I trust Circa a little more because you're not getting as many recreational bettors.
Oh yeah, they've got 35% bets, 63% money on the Chiefs,
and then Chiefs -2, which they have a -2 out there, not a 1.5 because they got so much money on them. 38% bets, 60% handle.
Yeah.
So that's I like trusting Circa more than the recreational stuff because you get so much public. You get less public money on Circa. You get public money, don't get me wrong. You got a lot of people in Vegas, but you get bigger bettors. Like a dude at Caesars just dropped 1.3 million on the Chiefs the other day. Like that makes you feel good when you see that stuff because I don't care how rich you are. If you're dropping $1 million on a bet, like you feel very good about it.
Yeah, we talked about this, I think, after we stopped recording the last show. The Chiefs fall off is coming. They went 11-6 last year. They won the Super Bowl, obviously, but there was an indication there that things aren't always going to be perfect. And if they do win it this year, Travis Kelce's probably going to retire. Some of their players are getting older. Chris Jones is getting older. They have good players around him that they can transition. Of course, you've got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but Tom Brady went 10 years between Super Bowls. And you look at some of the quarterback talent in the NFL, specifically in the AFC. I mean, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. One of those guys, Joe Burrow already did it. He didn't win the Super Bowl that year. One of those guys is going to beat the Chiefs and go on to win the Super Bowl. It's going to happen. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are not going to win every single year. But while they have this core intact and while they're playing as well as they are, just don't know how you bet against them.
So I was listening to, I think it was either First Take or it was NFL Today or Live or something, but they were talking about how Michael Jordan became Michael Jordan when he won his third in a row. Like that was something people hadn't done. So like this is when Patrick Mahomes, I think if he does win the third, you're elevating past Brady here. Like, because if he wins 3 right now, that's his number. That's 4. What's Brady got? 7?
7, yeah.
You're probably you have a chance of catching Brady, I guess, but you're just elevating to do something that nobody else has done. So you are the GOAT of your era officially. And Brady too, like, I don't know if Brady didn't become the GOAT till he was great later in his career. Like the fact that we're calling Mahomes the GOAT at this point in his career is very impressive.
Yeah, I think it was probably after Brady's like 6th that people started saying he was past Joe Montana.
It took a while, like losing. Like we weren't calling Brady the GOAT when he was losing to the Giants in the Super Bowl.
And to be fair, I understand it's different across sports, right? But when people talk about LeBron, they talk about the Mavericks loss was the biggest loss of his career. Losing those Giants Super Bowls as an undefeated team in one of them, and then losing to Nick Foles, those are big hits on a resume. So I guess that just goes to show how impressive Brady's resume is top to bottom, that he can have those stains on it and he's still viewed as the greatest ever.
Well, then going to Tampa helped. Winning
that helped
Tampa,
a lot.
Yeah. He was still the GOAT, but like going to Tampa and then beating Mahomes when you're in Tampa, it solidified it. But if Mahomes has been to, in the first 7 years of his career, starting 7 championship games, he is going to be, if he wins it, so he's lost twice, he's 5-2 in championship games. He would have the chance to win his 4th Super Bowl, and he's already been to 5 in the first 7 years. Like the trajectory there is way past Brady. I don't know if he'll catch Brady with the Super Bowls, but winning 3 in a row would be pretty impressive. I think if you're writing the script, the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl. If you're going to knock off the Chiefs, you want to knock them off in the Super Bowl more so for the script. So I don't think the Chiefs are coming to an end here. I don't necessarily fear this Josh Allen team. I would fear the Ravens if I were the Chiefs, because if the Ravens play a complete game, they are by far a better team. I can't say if the Bills play a complete game and the Chiefs play a complete game. I still lean towards the Chiefs.
And just to kind of put a bow on this GOAT conversation, for me personally, and I understand I don't speak for everybody, I don't need Patrick Mahomes to get 8 rings because Tom Brady has 7. That's not how I measure GOATs. Super Bowls, massively important, right? But even if he gets these 4, like 4 to 7 is a gap. I get that. But to win 3 in a row, to be the first in NFL history to do that, Brady had 3 MVPs in 23 seasons. Mahomes has 2 in 7, and he's going to have 4 Super Bowl MVPs. Brady might only have 4 Super Bowl MVPs himself, and Mahomes would have 4. And Mahomes obviously way better as far as the raw numbers, like yards per game, touchdown interception ratio, touchdowns per game, all that stuff. So like the GOAT case, if they win this one, the GOAT case is already there. It's not even like a future thing. It's like, is he already the best ever?
Yeah, I think he needs closer to 7. Like 3 in a row doesn't do it for me. It puts him in elite category, but I would think he needs 6 probably, and he's on pace to get there. But I
think the biggest thing would be if this lull, like we're both anticipating, whenever it happens, like even if they win 4 in a row, the lull needs to happen, and he needs to win another one after that. I think is the key.
By the end of his career, I agree with that. Now, if he win, they're not going to rip off 6 Super Bowls right now, but if he was able to do that, it would be pretty impressive. I think they win 3, though. I think so who are you taking the Super Bowl, Grant? Who's the look ahead future right now?
Well, actually, don't know if you saw these, but we do have some hypothetical odds.
They're each pretty even, like Chiefs -1.5, Bills -1.5, and then like 4.5, I think.
Yeah, the commies are 4.5 point dogs against both. The Eagles are 1.5 point dogs against both.
Yeah, so pretty even. We'll see what happens. I'll be on the Eagles if the Chiefs get beat. So
commies 4.5 point dog against the Chiefs, 6.5 against the Eagles doesn't sit right with me.
Home field, Grant.
I understand. I do understand, but
Philadelphia, tough place to play. Grant, don't get this commie delusional stuff. You guys are good. I don't think you've arrived yet.
No, so. I don't think we've arrived either. But I would make us larger underdogs against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl than I would against the Eagles.
Not how they play though. Like the Chiefs are just going to drain you. Like it's going to be low scoring. I get that, but Pat Mahomes could light you up for 500 yards if he wanted to.
Yeah, he probably could.
All right. Take us out of here, Grant.
Guys, that's going to do it for Ride the Line. Tanner, I appreciate you all joining us. Please, before you click off, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well. Do you like our conference championship predictions? Do you hate them? Whatever the case may be, jump in the comment section. Let us know. We'll be responding to all of them. Tanner and I will catch you all on the next episode of Ride the Line.